So tonight, we have a great night of comedy on TCM.
We're talking classic black comedies. We're talking about movies that make people laugh.
Exactly.
But they're also insightful, thought-provoking, and sometimes sort of dark.
Yeah, they seem to have a lot of gray area, right?
Yeah, but
are they really comedies?
Yeah, but they're fueled by terrific talent. And they're also directed by some really gifted filmmakers.
Right, you got Sidney Poitier,
Michael Schultz.
and you have Melvin Van Peebles.
Well, he's the godfather because he set a lot of things in motion. And then we got the ultimate comedy, which I think is one of the funniest movies ever made, which is Hollywood Shuffle, directed by Robert Townsend.
I can't wait to hear your take on each one of these movies.
They're all unique in their own right.
Absolutely. Stellar performances and 4 stellar movies.
Okay, here we go, Ed. Now is the time to talk about one of the funniest but most absurd comedies ever made, Stir Crazy.
Absolutely.
I mean, the star power alone, I love. I mean, just the combination of Richard Pryor, Gene Wilder, who had previously worked together on Silver Streak. They were amazing in this movie.
Right.
So why not pair them together again? That's brilliant. If I were a producer, I would do that. Then you put them in this movie, which has the craziest premise ever, which makes the movie funny. But there's nothing funny about this situation. So for a split second, it's not a comedy because you're dealing with people going to jail, falsely accused, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, is this a documentary? Because that's the situation we're still dealing with today.
But then it becomes like this breakout film, right? Which is really where the funny comes in.
Right. But that's the mark of a what? A great comedy.
Exactly.
Because it works like that. And also the pairing of Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder is brilliant. Because on paper, that's not supposed to work.
Exactly.
But on film, it's magnificent.
Like, one of the most brilliant things about this film is how they learn from each other throughout all this scenarios.
Right.
Yeah, it's totally like, you know, like...
It's a learning narrative.
Exactly, like Richard Pryor is teaching Gene Wilder about how to walk and how to be cool in prison.
It's a learning narrative that takes a lot of things from different people's culture and melds them together for survival because they're in prison.
Yes.
And like we said, there's nothing funny about prison.
And it also kind of pokes fun, again, at, you know, these creatives, these New York creatives, these guys with this hoi polloi idea of how they're going to move to the West Coast and have this life. And the house in Malibu. I mean, I just love how they just had envisioned this entire world for themselves.
But that's what lures you into this movie because who doesn't have their own version of the American dream?
Absolutely.
So you will follow these guys into the end no matter what. And you're going to root for them because you know they're not going to just make it from New York to California without something crazy creating a situation where they're in peril.
Oh, absolutely.
So you're like,
I mean, this scenario was, like, unheard of. Like, I thought it was interesting that, you know, it was a bank heist and mistaken identity, which I think is brilliant in a way to write that into the show.
Because that's so nestled into real life.
Exactly.
You have to have at least just a sliver of believability in something that's authentic. So that's the situation that sort of like moves the story forward.
Let's talk about Sidney Poitier.
As a director.
As a director, just how he's able to maneuver Richard and Gene throughout this film. It's perfect placement, perfect timing. And again, one of the things I talk about a lot is lighting and the production value of it. Like, he takes, it's almost
meticulous.
Inspiring how meticulous he is with the proper lighting, the proper, just how he projects and portrays each one. They both have, like, perfect lighting on them at all times.
But he also is an actor's director.
Exactly.
Because the one thing that he does in this movie that not a lot of people talk about is, remember, Richard Pryor's playing the straight guy. Gene Wilder is the over-the-top guy.
Exactly, unheard of.
This complete role reversal, because you would walk into this assuming that Richard Pryor would be the over-the-top guy and Gene Wilder would be the straight guy, but they flip-flop it. So you have to give a lot of credit to Sidney Poitier as director to be able to make that work. But it's also a testament to how gifted both Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder were, that they could swap roles and still execute and still be funny.
And deliver the
playing opposites of themselves.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's the reasons why they did so many movies together.
Plus, they had natural chemistry.
Yeah, like, you know, they met doing Blazing Saddles. Richard Pryor was one of the writers. And it's amazing to see how their friendship kind of moved them from that one space into film. and doing films together.
And I think they genuinely like one another, and you can see that on screen.
We can talk about this movie all day, but I think we should watch it.
So it's time to watch and time to laugh?
I think so.
I agree. Here, one of the biggest box office hits of 1980, Stir Crazy.
Again, another great comedy, Stir Crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing how funny this movie still is.
Exactly. And it holds up. All the jokes still hold up, which is something that you don't see in a lot of classic comedies.
Well, that's because of the amazing performance by Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder.
I do find it just kind of interesting looking at this film as a whole. And again, like, we're seeing these films tonight that really kind of show like how Hollywood kind of feeds the engine. It really does feed the engine, and how talent finds talent and talent moves talent. And it's one of those kind of films that I am really, really impressed with, not just like you're saying with just the comedic genius of the two actors, but just as a collaborative, how it all comes together.
Yeah, but this movie also slyly sort of sheds light on people who are wrongly accused and put in prison and what the process is to get them out. I mean,
yes.
Slightly.
Yeah.
But at least it does do that, though. It's not like a total empty-headed comedy. It does shed a little bit of light on that, which I found very interesting. But at the end of the day, it's still all about Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder.
Yeah, but it was also kind of important, like Sidney Poitier fought to have those scenes shot in an actual prison.
Yes, he did.
And he wanted that grittiness to be there. Even though this is a comedy, he still wanted this reality of prison life to kind of be in the set. And so there were there were stories about Gene Wilder was actually very nervous about it, and apparently Richard Pryor was as well.
Well, of course. They don't have that type of disposition.
Right.
They're not criminals.
but it was but it's when
going
you
to
look
prison
at
is a scary
it,
thing.
but when you look at it as a whole, it really does work. And how that you genuinely believe that fear that they have and that need to escape.
Well, no, they set it up very well. And it was also, the prisoners were cast very well.
Yes.
Which adds to that element of actually filming in the actual prison, which is one of the things that made this movie work. It's like, you felt that. It's like, oh man, these guys.
Oh yeah, like that yard scene?
They're on lockdown.
Oh yeah, it's totally.
There's no hope.
Here's a little bit of trivia for you.
Okay, what
Did you know that Richard Pryor would not put on the chicken suit?
Oh, he
had a body double.
He had a body double in the chicken suit?
He had a body double. He would not wear it.
Well, he didn't like being all covered up?
He didn't like it.
Well, here's another fun fact. Those mascot uniforms, they get hot inside, and they smell really bad. Don't ask me how I know. They're not that comfortable.
I know how much you love Stir Crazy, but we got another great movie to watch.
Okay, what's next?
All right. So up next, a comedy from 1970, directed by the great Melvin Van Peebles.